Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, welcome. Today we have an optic review for you, and that is this Gideon Optics Rock. So for full transparency, Gideon did send this out to me. They also sent me two other ones that I am in the process of reviewing, another pistol red dot and a rifle red dot. You'll see those in the future, but I have just over 1,000 rounds of 9mm through this optic thus far. It's about time it gets a video. Let's get into it. So Gideon is a reasonably new optic company. I first heard of them at GunCon this year, and I believe it is this year, 2023, that they sort of really started to start getting these out in production. And as for my first offering, or as for my first example using them, I'm really impressed with this optic. So some quick specs about it. It has a 15.5mm tall by 22mm wide window, has a 65mm segmented circle with a 3 MOA dot, a 1632 top mounted battery with an estimated 55,000 hour battery life. Shake to wake, it will go to sleep in 225 seconds, and it has 8 total settings, from bright down to 2 or 3 night vision settings. Now the body of this thing is made of 7075 T6 aluminum, so unlike some of the other budget-minded, where we're going to get into price later, but budget-minded optics, this has a tougher body on it than many of them out there have. It has 45 MOA elevation and windage adjustment, so that's a ton of adjustment there, and it is parallax free out to 33 yards, which is plenty for a handheld pistol red dot sight. Now this one does come with an RMR footprint, but it also comes with a low mount for 1913 rail as well. And on top of that, all that, it is IPX7 rated. So this thing has sort of the gamut of things that you would want out of a red dot. Now that all sounds good on paper. What about using it? What about the actual function in using it? A company can make things sound flowery and nice on paper, but what happens when it gets into the hands of somebody that puts over 1,000 rounds through it and gives it some abuse? This thing has held up great. I did put it through my standard, well actually it wasn't standard, it was a little bit harsher, drop and racking test. All right, drop and abuse test, Gideon Optics Rock. We're gonna do this a little differently than we have in the past. Same drop test, same racking off the optic abuse, but we're gonna do it into the Danny target from Bear Solutions. So we're gonna do 12 rounds at a time instead of the regular 5. So let's set the baseline. All right, all good scores. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let's drop it. All right, still on. I don't know if you can see that. Glass is not cracked. Make sure the gun's functioning. All right, sent 1 out of the 2, but still passing. All right, let's go to the tailgate. One continuous shot so nobody can say I've done anything nefarious. Right there. Get some of my tailgate plastic out of there. And it's still on. I don't know if you can see that. Glass isn't cracked, anything like that. Let's get to the target. That out of order. All right. I sent one out of the two on the second round, but yeah, I only got one out of the targets. I would call that still zeroed, functioning properly, and good to go. So the durability seems to be there. Again, 1,000 rounds, not a single flicker, not a single problem. So the durability, not just the 70-75 housing, but as far as giving it a what I would call realistic to just beyond realistic abuse test. Glass clarity, it has just a tiny blue hue. When I look out here at the desert floor, it barely changes the color of the desert dirt, but the reticle is nice and bright. It's very bright compared to some of the more budget options that I have used in the past. Now the reticle itself is very crisp, very clear, has no haziness or bloom to it even on its highest setting, and then as you dim down through the settings, it doesn't make major jumps to where one time you see it, next time you don't, until you get into those night vision settings. It has performed very well under white light. I have done quite a bit of night shooting with it, and so to this point, it has passed like all the standards that I would want out of a pistol red dot. Now I know 22mm wide window, 15.5 millimeter tall is not giant, but it's not little, and it seems to it fits the reticle real nicely. So the reticle is not too big or too small for the window, and I don't feel like, it doesn't feel like the window's small. And I know that seems weird to say, but because it's not an overly large window, but I don't know if it's the thickness of the body around the window, the hood of the window, but it feels huge. I probably shouldn't have said that online, but it does. Like when I bring it up into my view, the reticle's right there, and it feels like there's a lot of breathing room around it, is what I'm getting at. It's just a really joy to shoot with this. So has there been any problems with it? There's been two things. One's not a problem. The other one was it did not wake up when I picked it up one time. However, to that point, I was testing somewhat of a durability test, and I had left it on the dash of my windshield or of my truck the entire weekend that I was out here. It was 110 out, which means the dash shining down on it was well above the operating temperature range of this Optic. It did not turn on when I picked it up, but as soon as I pressed the button, it turned on, and I've never had it happen since. So basically, I just cooked it into submission that one weekend, and but I haven't had an issue with it since. Never had a flicker, never had a problem as far as that goes. The other is when I was doing the racking off the table test, it would appear, and you can't really see it on camera, but just there's the tiniest, and I'm nitpicking at this point, the tiniest little tiny scratch there that if I look for it, if I really look for it in the right light, I can find it. But the glass does protrude just the tiniest bit from the rails of the hood here. God, just the almost an immeasurable amount, but it was enough that when I was racking it off the table that it put a little tiny scuff on the window. Again, there's so much good and so much right about this, that I'm getting pretty nitpicky about that little tiny thing. So let's get into price. So the $200 range of pistol optics is pretty darn crowded. Some of the really cheap $90, $100 ones, that's one end of the spectrum, and then you have your $400, $500, $600 ones, another end of the spectrum, and then there's that middle ground that Holosun sort of owns, that $200 to $300 area, maybe even a little less than 200, but that $200 to $300 area is an area that Holosun sort of dominates, and I would put this up against it. These come in at about the same price as a low-end Holosun, and I would put this up against the Holosun that I carry. I think this is a very nice optic. Now to the YouTube sensors out there, this is just my take on this optic. This is nothing else other than just honest opinions, me giving my viewers my feedback after using the Gideon Rock. I am not in the business of selling anything, so I don't know if that matters to you anymore out there in YouTube land. You seem to make up rules as you go depending on who you want to punish, but just know that this is strictly my opinion on this optic. It's pretty sad that you have to do disclaimers like that anymore and you just can't make a video. All right, thank you to Gideon for sending this out to me. And like I said, I have 2 more reviews coming up, but I think Gideon has found a place in the market. For being such a new company, they really have come in with a splash, in my opinion. So check out more from Gideon Optics. I suggest going to check them out. There may or may not be a place that you can find a way to see Gideon Optics in the pinned comment. So check that out as well. And yeah, and all of you out there, I appreciate your support. Thank you for watching. Thank you to all my members and Ko-Fi members, and we'll talk to you later.